Welcome to another edition of Creative Talk powered by Ngrane, where we discuss things about design and technology, including how AI can help us improve our creative greatness. Today, the topic is um, branding and what the branding misconceptions could be for businesses. So, David, a quick question. I know that a lot of companies they think about their branding, and the branding is their logo. And they come to Ngrane and they say like, "Hey, we want you guys to create a website for us." And usually our question is, "Do you have your branding set up?" And they say, "Yes, I have a logo." Um, what's the issue, or what kind of problems did that arise if they do not have a proper branding set up already?
Yeah. There's so branding in general, you have so many terms or names for it. You have brand guidelines, you have brand identity, branding, brand. So what is
So,
what?
yeah.
I think it's good for us to first demystify that whole realm of what is branding. Some people think brand identity, that's my logo and that's it, but it's far more than that. Uh, when you're talking about brand identity, you need to compare then your brand as a person. A person has an identity. They have a way of speaking, a way of communicating. They have certain swag, a certain mojo, the way they dress, the way they work, their values. It's good when you want to talk about brand identity. You should compare it with a person. So if you look at the logo, for instance, that's just how a person looks. That's it. That's not the complete
Who the person
identity of
is?
the person. What's his tone or her tone of voice? You don't. That's not available. So meaning your brand identity is not complete. Um, so that's one thing, and we'll dive deeper into that. When you're talking about guidelines, that's the actual PDF or the book that explains how a brand works. This is the tone of voice. This is the archetype. These are the colors. This is how you use the fonts. This is, it's kind of like a manual on how to explain. And branding in general is how you use your logo and your colors out there in the world. How do you apply it to your website? How do you apply it to your social media, for instance? So that's branding. So that's a bit of the differences between what is what. If you only have a logo, then honestly, your brand is not complete. You do have a face, and you can get around with that. But sometimes we have clients that says, "Oh, look at this brand, and this
I
is
want
yeah,
that.
I want that." There's much more going on that below level on the undercurrents than just what you're seeing. There is a tone of voice there. They chose a specific model because that model represents the archetype of that brand. Sometimes we hear we want a website just like Apple, and in many cases, there's a lot going on in that one picture
That we don't know.
that we don't know, that we don't see. We only feel it. And then it's very hard to just translate that with just a logo and just a color. So that is a bit I mean, Jitesh, you also deal with that when designing websites or when we get briefings from, hey, here's my logo,
Yeah.
make magic happen.
Yeah.
And many times we skip that brand identity or how do you say development part, and because sometimes clients want to start right away with a website, or that's the most important thing for them. um so that's a bit of a the demystifying that whole
Yeah.
brand and what is needed.
Yeah.
And so, for a client, what kind of problems arise later on if I do not take that step? So, if I do not take the step of creating a good brand identity, because that's, I think, something that the clients watching this might believe, like, okay, I understand what brand is now, but why would I have to invest money in it and make sure that I need it for the designer? Because for me, the logo is enough,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Look, I think maybe even logo is enough. It also depends on what stage of the business you are in.
Right.
Can you
If
explain the
yes,
stages?
yes, I'll try to explain what stages I mean. But what I'm trying to say is, Usually, logo is not the first thing that you design. Yeah, you come up with a business idea of starting a food truck, for example.
Right.
What what are you planning to make in that food truck? That already starts creating an identity for your food truck identity. If your food truck business was a person, as David said, uh, what personality will it have? I mean, you're already talking about food truck. You're not talking about a restaurant, so it will be like an extrovert, trying to mingle with people, and going to social events and stuff. So I think it already starts from there. Talking about your thinking about your brand as a person. What would be the personality of your brand? And based on that you decide colors. That every color gives you a certain feeling. Like, why do you feel nice after taking a walk in a park?
Right.
Because green, yes, when you look at green, it sort of calms you down. Again, thinking about colors, red is color of passion, love. Heart depends, obviously depends on how you use it,
Mm.
but it is color of passion. Blue also, calm. Nowadays, you also, when you look at blue, you think about corporate, you think about Microsoft, LinkedIn,
Trust.
trust. Yes. So it has a legacy. When you think about blue, it's sort of legacy. So it's very important. So that is, I think, the next step is choosing the right color based on your personality, and then from there, you can go everywhere. Like when Pepsi redesigned their logo, they had an 86 page, around 80 page document of explaining why the new logo, what it means. It had like very deep. You can go as deep as you want. So with Pepsi, they were explaining how the planetary system is being shown in their logo. But yeah, I mean, you can go as deep as you want. But I think to start with, this is very important. Building a brand personality, deciding your color, then talking about tone of voice. How are you going to address? Now you know that your brand is like an outgoing person, so your tone of voice, your communication, what channels you're going to use will be completely dependent on what personality you want your brand to be shown. And I think one of the things you are mentioning, I think to add to that, I think images, the sort of pictures that you use, for example, in marketing, or you're creating a new website, that is very important. You mentioned, AI. A customer will come and they'll say, "I want a website just like Apple." But if you remove all the assets, all the images, animations, pictures of the phones and products, that is just a black and white
Yeah.
template
Almost a wireframe.
website. Yes, almost a wireframe.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't have anything other than so I think the picture creates that feel, that Apple, when you talk about an Apple website.
And I think Apple also made that conscious choice of letting the images
Yeah.
speak out and let that be the brand, because other brands use illustrations, patterns within,
Right.
trying to think of one right now, but Coca-Cola has that wavy thing that they incorporate sometimes in their branding, but Apple decided images.
That's how we speak. So, and then the brand identity decides, okay, what type of pictures we use. So, if I understand it correctly, and we go back to the food truck analogy, you're saying that even before I even create the logo, just by having choices made about what type of product I'm making, how I'm going to speak about with clients, um, those are already brand identity choices that are made without actually formalizing it, and that happens before I have the logo. It's just that as a business owner, I wasn't aware that I made those choices, and that's why we need to formalize it into a brand guideline.
There's certain things also that are that you might miss. For instance, culture, location. You start a food truck where? In Amsterdam, countries is, of course, there's a big difference in how you apply a branding to a certain region in the world. I think when it comes to South America, there's a complete different application in your branding than Europe, for instance. I think that's logical. But even within a country, if you're going to start a brand in Amsterdam versus starting it in Eindhoven, that also has effect on your brand. You do have a certain archetype walking around here in Amsterdam compared to Eindhoven. So those are conscious choices that you need to make as well. And when it comes to these choices, you do have guidelines, or you do have certain rules that can help you set these and
Framework.
yes, framework. So for instance, one is called the 12 brand archetype, which is every brand uses the 12 brand archetype. It is yeah, it goes way back into let's say back into ancient times. That's a way to represent yourself, or in stories and biblical stories and stories that have been told throughout the ancient times up until now. There's always these archetypes that come up, and that you can dissect it into a wheel of 12 archetypes. You have the humorous guy, the joker, you have the serious, you have the ruler, you have the sage, the wise guy. Sometimes even in movies you see these archetypes coming back. And most big brands use either a combination of two archetypes or even three, but each archetype has also a set of emotion, a set of tone of voice, colors, behaviors that can help you then set the tone for your own brand. You can have a combination of, hey, I want to have humor, um, but I'm also a brand that likes to explore and look around. I'm curious. I'm very curious to know what's happening in the world, and that's my personality. But I'm also humor. I'm also quirky. I'm also, so you can create that combination using those two archetypes. It'll give you a set of rules that you can then apply to your brand.
So if I understand it correctly, an archetype is like a sort of um, ancient framework of person
Yep.
that we deeply understand when we have that we see that person. So
Yeah.
that is like a ancient set of rules of how a certain person walks, talks.
Yeah, just like the hero's journey. I don't know if you've ever heard of that,
Yeah.
but the hero's journey is like the perfect template when you want to tell a story about a hero. It's actually a step-by-step template that explains, okay, the hero is born and the hero gets a task or a quest. Then the hero has a mentor that helps him or her to achieve certain things. The hero has a downfall, goes very deep, something bad happens, then they rise, then they kill the monster or enemy or whatever it is, and then they are reborn. So that template is very known and also has been told all the way from the beginning of mankind. And this is also the case for the 12 brand archetypes. There are 12 the 12 personalities that you can fit within each situation, either a movie, either a brand, you know, whatever. Yeah.
While choosing that brand archetype, does that have anything to do with the business owner, or is it more? So you mentioned humorous and curious. So does the client come and say, "I'm curious and I'm humorous," or is it a different way of finding out the archetype?
It could
Yeah.
be either or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also completely depends on the business you are in. Yeah. I think foremost thing is to see what business you want to start. Yeah. And if you're starting a business, for example, it's a food truck business, and you are not you're not an extrovert guy yourself, but you want to start a business uh, that is aimed towards extroverted people. You go there, you have the stock, you have people standing around. So I think it depends. I mean, of course, you as a person who starts business, you're gonna impart some of your personality into that business. But I think you, as a business, you should treat it as a different entity and not as you. Meaning, then you are not bound to your limitations or your constraints or your mindset, so that this business as an entity can survive in itself and adapt based on what the trend is.
Awesome, awesome. And of course, this talk is also about AI. So how can AI help in different phases of this brand identity of the brand guideline building?
Yes.
I'm looking at David, because David is the AI brand expert here.
No, but I mean, you also fiddled around
Yes,
We'll come back to how you use it also. Let's start with David.
yeah, I mean, nowadays AI, can be a great branding assistant to developing a brand. Think about your target audience, for instance. It can help you define your target audience. So in general, when using AI with branding, you can already use it to start defining certain aspects within your brand. For instance, if you already have an idea who your target audience is, you can keep on asking AI, okay, we're talking about marketing managers, or no, let's keep it at food truck. We're talking about people that are on the go, constantly on the go, and they don't have a lot of time and they pass by quickly. They want to grab something that's delicious, that's either flavorful or spices, or that's their research that you need to do, and then they want to eat it and then continue with their daily lives. That's already a general, what this target audience does. Then you can narrow it down to more specific things like age. Is it more women than men? Is it corporate people, or is it more creative people? And then with AI, you can ask, okay, creative people between the ages of, help me out. This is their daily routine, and they live in Amsterdam. What are the things that you can elaborate on regarding this target audience? And you can have that conversation with the AI. And at some point, you can develop a complete persona, a complete target audience and once you have that, then you can continue. Okay, now I need to build a brand. I need to set a tone of voice. Colors. I need to have a logo. Give me a couple of ideas regarding my logo. You can have that conversation with the AI. And if you ask the right questions, you can at some point end up with a very elaborate branding, let's say a briefing that you can give to a designer or an agency to start developing that brand for you. It'll help the agency set certain tones instead of coming, hey, I need a brand, I have a food truck. And I think it's important for you yourself as the owner of the brand to come with your own insights, your own inspiration sources, and have that conversation and talk with AI. Nowadays, you can even then, once you're done talking to the AI, okay, generate a prompt for me that I can give to either Midjourney or another to create the moods. Now, Midjourney does not create logos, but you can kind of create mood boards with it, and that you can also bring to a designer and say, "Hey, I even have some visual ideas that can help you help you start creating that brand."
So, you created a great bridge for our next topic is what's the role of prompt engineering into design? And you just mentioned Midjourney. For the people that don't know about Midjourney, can you guys explain what it is?
Yeah, Midjourney is a AI bot that helps. So it's called text to image AI. So you can describe something that you want. You can say a dog flying in an air balloon, and we'll create that image for you. Then what you're talking about prompt engineering, then you can get even more deeper into it. Like, what style do you want? Yeah, I want a dog in an air balloon in Disney style, animated movie style. Then it'll give you that image. It'll give you a couple of options of that image. Then you choose and start refining from there. So basically, Midjourney is one of those bots. There are also other AI bots that do it. I think the OpenAI one is called DALI. Yeah. So DALI is another one. But Midjourney is the most popular one so far.
Right. And is there a certain structure that here at Ngrane we use to use Midjourney? Is there a certain way or technique that you guys use to get a certain type of?
And then looking at David again.
No, but before we go into that, maybe you can. I like also how you prime your prompts, or you prime the OpenAI, the ChatGPT to start doing certain tasks. Maybe I think it's
So so initially, like when we started using ChatGPT, I think it was like last year or maybe from 2023, I think. So it was quite new. So there was this technique called priming, and we still use that in some sense. I mean, I think we still use it. But the idea is to let ChatGPT or any other AI chat bot that you use is for it to let you no, it's for you to let that AI chatbot know the whole context of your project. So basically, what chatbots are, what AI chatbots are, or ChatGPT, for example, is a text prediction uh, algorithm. So it just basically predicts the next text. That's it. So the more context you give it, it'll be better in predicting that text. So initially, what I used to do is, for example, I have a task. Create me a marketing plan for food truck. Yeah.
Right.
So that is a very general task. It will give you a very detailed marketing plan, but that probably doesn't apply to you. So now you do this. Yeah, what you do is you give it the goal of your business, what you want to achieve, what are your challenges, and even ask ChatGPT, hey, if this is not enough, ask me 10 questions that will help you create a very personalized marketing plan for me. Then it will ask you what information does it need. So basically, you answer that. Uh, another hack is that I open another chat GPT chat
And use that.
with that question, take their answers, modify that answers according to my need, and then give it back that information, and then we create a plan that is much more suitable for your business.
Cool.
But still, as a marketeer, as an agency, we still have to put in our thoughts into it. It's not just that you are you just copy pasting. I mean, yeah, it's not.
No.
None of the two projects that we have ever done is same. So the solution should not be the same. It depends on the multiple factors that we. Yeah.
You mentioned goals. I think goals is also,
Yes.
for instance, in the example of giving it to a designer. I think it's good for the AI to know that that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
After you have generated for me, this will go to a designer. So then, speaking of prediction, it can predict. Okay, I'm going to need to speak in a designer language for the designer to understand what I'm trying to explain regarding brand. So I think priming in general is a very handy technique that you can use with AI to create certain briefings or certain texts that can then help either create prompts in Midjourney or brief a designer. So yeah, it's also
Another. No, another thing is, I think, like my role in Ngrane is, like, of course, my primary role is a UX designer, but we also, like, we do strategies, we do those sort of thing. So what I did with my chat GPT is to train it in a way that I can ask it to be a UX designer and give me suggestion as a designer, or as a marketeer, or uh, as a design strategist. So I think, and now the chat GPT also has a memory function. It remembers your conversations, from all the conversations, so it can interlink the conversations.
yeah.
So I primed it in a way, basically trained it in a way that it can act as like a designer. All the roles that I basically have in fulfilling.
Yeah.
You can also make it now more personal because, as we know, sometimes you see text written elevate. ChatGPT loves that word.
That's
But now you can
ChatGPT
train
word
it.
of the
You
year.
can train it and say, do not use elevate in my titles. Do not use that. Do not use this word, that word. So you can create a list of words. Then you can train the ChatGPT and say, do not use these words in when you generate text for me. And then you can tell ChatGPT who you are, where you are based, what you do, what is your job, what is your work. So every time now I ask ChatGPT something, ChatGPT knows that, okay, creative director of Ngrane, so agency, he's asking about branding. So, okay, he's doing a research for a client, or, then it already knows that. Yep.
No, but I know you are not a copywriter, Reggie, but I have seen you come up with really amazing, like marketing material, and I cannot do that. I've seen you also work with ChatGPT and stuff.
Yeah.
So what's your workflow?
So one of the things that I do during copywriting is that I usually ask ChatGPT to embody the styles of different, let's say, master copywriters that are no longer here with us, and it can go back, and because it has a lot of access to those material, it can actually embody the styles of those people. And I have a unique thing that I let them converse with each other. So we create like a round table, and then they discuss with each other what type of content or what type of copywriting we have to use for this specific instance. And then I'll ask them to each give them their unique way, like their unique headline, the unique copy basically, and I'll choose between those two, or I'll ask ChatGPT to create a mix of them, and that's how we build
Yep.
the a high level copywriting with the help from some of the best in the world that they're no longer here.
Yeah. No, that's and going back to what we were talking about Mid-Journey.
Yes.
What you can also do is do that with Mid-Journey. So when you're looking for a specific look,
Right.
you can also, if there is a movie director that you like, Christopher Nolan, for instance, or in my case, Barry Jenkins, I always tell Midjourney, hey, I want a cinematic shot of a guy doing this, uh, and the movie and the shot is directed by Barry Jenkins, directed by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Wes Anderson, which has a very specific look. So you can use those things. You can use cameras, for instance. It is shot on a Sony A7 III, or it is shot. Then you can go big budget. It is shot on a Red camera. It's shot on an Arri Alexa camera. You can then say, hey, it's shot on an Arri Alexa camera, but I want to use a vintage lens. If you know the name of the lens, you can actually tell Midjourney that this is a lens, this is the focal length. I want blurriness in the background, so you can go very far. There's even templates that I use that I saved in my notes, like recipes actually, that I just copy paste, put in Midjourney, and then enter the details that I want. And then many cases I get perfect results, like very good results.
So is that like a way of how a creative director or creative directors can see, okay, I know the type of look that I want.
Yeah,
That's my experience. So that's how I translate it into Midjourney so that I can get the look that I want. But you need that experience to see
yeah,
to explain it to the AI
yeah,
to get the right look.
yeah. What AI is doing now, it's really letting you sit in that director seat.
Yeah.
Normally, as a creative director, I had to, get my hands dirty, or go look online, combine some pictures, go into Photoshop, design a little bit. But now I can actually not think about the practical stuff,
Mhm.
like open up Photoshop. I need to draw a line. I need to copy paste this. Forget that. The AI will do that for me. I now sit on the director's seat and I can think more freely, think about concepts that I've seen in the past. Oh, I loved how Barry Jenkins did this and that shot. Okay, let's put that in and throw a little bit of mix of vintage lenses in there for me and make it look, give it a dark tone, and then you can constantly iterate with Midjourney. You get a few results and then you're like, no, change that or change this. It really gives you that power now to sit in that seat and let an assistant do the practical stuff for you. Those.
Because the world is moving a lot towards AI,
Yeah.
I was trying to look for a way to connect what's the human touch to AI, and I think that's something that you're explaining right now. That because of your human experience of actually having a camera or actually seeing good directors working in the super style, and
Yep.
that's what you communicate to your assistant basically.
Yeah.
So then you do keep that human part with
Definitely.
the how do you say, the exponential efficiency of AI.
Yeah, it is a combination of your life journey as a person. You've been inspired by certain movies in the past.
Right.
You've been inspired by certain things in the past. You take that with you, and use the practical stuff with it. You can even combine it with. We were talking about movie directors, but going back into branding, we can even say, "Hey, I want." You're creating a shot for your website of somebody listening to music. You can then tell it also, I want it in the style of Apple marketing, or I want it in the style of, and that shouldn't mean that you're doing a one-on-one copy of Apple, but like I said, you can have that as a base,
Right.
but then add in your own thoughts and your own techniques and your own, lenses or things like that. So I think that reference and that life journey makes it human, gives that human touch to
Right.
AI.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we're getting to a great session today. I want to wrap it up. One of the points that I would love for us to be able to share to the people watching this is if we could share the template that you use,
Sure. Yeah.
and
No,
then
we
we can so they can actually try around with Midjourney for themselves and see how that improves their
definitely.
results.
Yeah, I love to share it. I love to share. I love to see how other people use it.
Right.
I've shared it with some people already, and I love how they adjust it to their own needs. You can break it off into, okay, This is a recipe for cinematic shots. This is a recipe for marketing shots. This is a recipe for corporate shots. So no, no, no. I'd love to share it. Yeah.
It just I know we are wrapping it up, but just to add to what you're saying, the things that you've explained so far is it's before the project actually begins. It's more in the planning phase.
Yeah.
But nowadays we are also using a lot of imagery for the project itself. Like we are working on this project. I don't know. We can take names. I mean,
We're
but
working on a project.
Yeah, we're working on a project, and of the images that we want to use for this project, of course we are not able to find it because that images doesn't exist. Because the history is told by the winners.
Yeah, you can go crazy now. Yeah.
So we now with mid journey and with image generation tools, we are able to create that story. We are able to see what it might have looked like. When you for example in mid journey, when you prompt saying a doctor operating on an operation table or whatever, it'll definitely show a white male as a doctor. uh, that tells you that there are so many biases in it. But with this tool, with your imagination, with the human touch that you're talking about, I think it is very important for you. It's a very important tool to tell a story in a very different perspective, create imagery that is strong. That tells that creates that emotional connect with your project.
Yep.
Earlier that wasn't possible. I mean, we are talking about last year, like 12 months ago, that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago it wasn't possible. But
yeah, and I think we are at that point now where you can actually create big budget things that you needed a big budget production for. And now you can do it with a simple prompt. Things like and now with Runway,
the video,
image to video generator, you can use like drones going into your nose, getting out of your ear, flying through, going through the keyhole. Back then, you needed very special equipment to do that, but now everything is possible.
I'm glad you interrupted and didn't wrap up the session, because that was a great insight. That is true. That is true. So I'm also now we can wrap up. So I'm looking forward to what else we can keep creating with the help of AI.
Yeah.
And um, I hope or I think that the viewers watching the session think they'll definitely learn some key insights from how they can improve or how they can prepare. Um, Basically the pre-journey before they contact a designer or an agency to make sure that the output that they get is the output that they want.
Yep.
So thank you very much to the both of you, and yeah, that's it. So,
Awesome.
Thank you, Reggie, for inviting us.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey,
Great.
great.